They did an update, didn't they? What is this update? Whoa, yeah, this is new. Whoa. Hey, wait. Let's watch this. Hang on. They've done something. What is this? Also, let me get rid of this. Right, they've added something to Rimworld. What is this?
Hello, everybody. I am Tynan Sylvester, and today we're going to look at Rimworld, specifically all the stuff that.
Wait, hang on. You can't hear anything, can you? Set. Oh no, you can hear stuff.
That we have added since the 1.1 release back in February. So the big theme here is actually trying to open up new play paths for the player so that you can choose between different ways you want to approach the game and different ways you'll want to approach problems. Specifically, you can ally with whoever you want and still use all the features. So let's just get into how we've been approaching that. So with the royalty expansion, we added Psycasters, who are people you can get who have psychic powers that they can use, which are generally combat focused right now.
Yes.
And what we've done here is we've added a new long-term resource on the Psycaster. So previously you had Psychic Entropy, which has been renamed to Heat, and this is your very short-term resource. You know, it restores itself within a few seconds, and it's just so you can't completely spam the same ability over and over and just blast everyone to hell within a single combat. But now there's a longer-term resource called Psyfocus. In the fiction, this is some sort of psychic structuring that they use, and it gets exhausted a little bit with each Psycast that you use. So if you're casting a lot over time, you'll have to do something to build it back up. And in addition to that, there is a tiny rate of decay, so if you're not using it at all, it will eventually expire. Now, there's no downside to letting it expire. Your Psycaster will become unable to use Psycasts, but in general, they're not going to get a bad mood or anything like that. So it's really just a choice as to whether you want to maintain it for somebody or not. Okay. It's not a requirement. The main way you build up Psyfocus is by meditation. In the old system, Psycasts were really balanced around the Empire specifically because they were the main source.
This is
of
very
the ability
Jedi-esque,
to use these psychic powers. And to get the psychic powers, typically you would have to get a title with them, and that would make your Baron or your Count have a need for authority, and they would want to reign on the throne to build up that need for authority. And so it was sort of like a two-link system where to get the Psycast, you have to get a title, and to maintain a title, you have to reign and build up authority. But that's really quite limiting in terms of opening up new play paths, because then the question is, how do we balance that for a player who's using Psycasters who's against the Empire or who is, just neutral with them?
Exactly.
And so I thought about this and reworked it so that now the Psycasts require meditation directly. When they're on their throne, they're not there sort of ego boosting themselves anymore. It's been rewritten a little bit, so it's more of a meditative activity. It's a grand throne room and it has a social function, but it's also, in some sense, a meditation temple. So the more grand the throne they have, the more dignified it feels to them, and the more effective it is at building up Psyfocus. What about Psycasters who aren't royal at all?
Okay.
Well, this is where we've really expanded things. Each person, depending on their cultural background, their traits, and how they became a Psycaster, will have a different type of meditation focus that they want.
He has a very nice face.
The first one I already described is the one that you get if you have a royal title, and that's the dignified focus. But there are others. So for example, if your character has a tribal backstory, then they'll have what's labeled the natural focus. So that creates other ways for them to meditate. If they have the traits like psychopath or cannibal, they'll have the morbid focus. If they're an ascetic, they'll have the minimal focus.
Okay.
And pretty much everybody has the artistic focus.
Oh, right, okay.
The foci, let's look at morbid, right? If you have a psychopathic Psycaster, well, maybe they got their Psycasts from the Empire and they have a title, in which case they can use the throne, but if not, or even if so, they also have the choice of meditating in a morbid way, which means meditating to graves. So they will go to a grave.
That's amazing.
And,
wait.
Next to it and focus on it.
So depending on your trait, you can meditate differently, right? So it's worth building a graveyard, and like if you're a tribalist, like if there are like a psychopath or something, you just build a graveyard and just set like a meditation spot right in the middle, so they sit in like a square pit of dead bodies, and just that'll boost their psi focus. That's really cool. I do really like
their
it.
Focus object as opposed to a throne.
That's really clever.
Now, it's more effective if there's somebody inside the grave, and it's even more effective if that person has a relationship with the person who's meditating.
I wonder if it works with
how you
like
wanna satisfy
sarcophagus
that
as well.
desire? Well, that's up to you. Let's look at minimal focus type. So if you have an ascetic, they don't want anything. They want a crappy room. They really despise wealth, and so they're happy to meditate just staring at a wall. For them, that's powerful and effective. Those with the artistic meditation type can use art as meditation foci. Finally, let's look at the natural meditation focus type. This one is available to any character with a tribal childhood backstory, whether you captured them or started with them. What they want to do is they want to meditate in nature. And there's a few ways to do that, but the primary one is to meditate at this tree. Now we call this the Anima Tree. And it glows in the dark.
Oh, look at that. That's cool, isn't it?
Some sort of bioluminescent microorganisms on it, and it's got some kind of psychic connection with the surrounding psychic field. The Anima Tree is a meditation focus, but one specific interesting thing about it is, well, first off,
so they added a new tree.
You're just going to it. It's part of nature. But also, it's not effective if it's surrounded by artificial buildings. So what you really have to do to make this maximally effective is to leave the tree in nature. But your tribal Psycaster wants to go out and commune with nature and focus on this tree.
See,
the tree also becomes a way to gain...
Even Tainan doesn't use copy and paste on that thing. Have you noticed? It's like dragging it across. Not everybody is efficient as we are.
New levels of psychic link to be able to cast higher level Psycasts.
Look at that.
You can do this even if you have nobody who can use any Psycasts. Anybody can go out and meditate to the tree.
Flipping tree huggers.
What do is it builds up the special grass. Once it hits a certain threshold, one of your people can go and link with the tree in a sort of ritual. And then at the end of that ritual,
with the tree.
They upgrade to use higher level Psycasts.
Call me linked.
Tribal Psycasters are not just limited to the tree. There's also other ways to meditate. We have nature shrines that you can build. They're not quite as effective as the tree, and they won't give new Psycast levels. But they definitely get the job done if you want to put it in a specific place.
What is that thing?
Although in every case, it still has to be...
Whoa, what is that? That's like a... What is that? It's like a rock formation thing going on.
Still has to be at a good distance from any artificial buildings, because the whole theme of it is they go out to meditate in nature. Next, let's talk a little bit about the Psycasting mechanics themselves. We used to have something called Psychic Hangover that would appear when your Psycasters used the Psycast, and then after they were done. And the purpose of this was to prevent forcing players to micromanage their Psycaster by casting, I guess, minimally beneficial combat abilities in just day-to-day domestic situations.
But he uses
creates a burden for the player where you have to cast this thing like at a regular interval all the time. However, since we have Psy-Focus now, that is no longer necessary. So the Psychic Hangover is just removed. In addition, the Neural Heat Overload, the effects of that have really been softened, so it should be a lot better of a strategy. Previously, you could easily burn your guy's brain and basically kill your own Psycaster by overloading his heat level.
I like that.
It doesn't happen anymore. They will still fall into a coma for...
Wait, look, he's, they had that chaos skip. Was that always like that? I thought it was like, you hit skip, and then it just teleported to a random place. You can tell them where to teleport now?
Heat level. It doesn't happen anymore. They will still fall into a coma for a few days.
Or is the chaos skip totally different? This is normal skip, but it's chaos skip completely different.
But there won't be any permanent damage. We've added some new Psycasts. The first one, Neural Heat Dump. So this actually replaces the old entropy link. You cast it on one of your allies, all your neural heat disappears, and then the ally is downed in psychic shock for a day. Some testers have actually reported using that downing effect as sort of a protective thing. Like, for example, your ally is unable to get to the colony soon enough, and he's being chased by manhunting sheep. Well, you dump a bunch of neural heat into him, he collapses, and then the sheep will ignore him.
That's really clever.
Next up is Water Skip. This one pull some water from the air or from a nearby water body. And just drop it in a small area. And the purpose is to put out fires. So if you've got a raging storm, it won't be possible to do this. But in a combat situation where, you know, there's some inferno cannon going off or someone's burning, you can take care of the problem with a little bit of water. Third, we added Flash Storm. This is a focused Flash Storm, which you can cast on a specific spot, and then it'll just drop lightning bolts there for, you know, a quarter of a day here and there. So it won't be particularly effective against moving groups of enemies, but against more static positions, like your sieges or your
okay. I have to say,
so
like,
on and so forth.
Right. So I think Titan Looting Studios, they really want you to use side focus. I guess like people just wasn't using it before, like there was no point. But now it's like there's a lot more tactical advantage to do it. Like there's like a psychic commando, if you like. It's kind of like Yuri from Red Alert, if you ever guys played Red Alert. Like you send him in, do some shit, teleport back out and leave, right? It's really...
It should be useful.
He really wants you to use the side focus,
the
psychic ability.
Now this forms a circle around wherever you cast it, and for some short period of time, it will absorb all the shots coming in or out. So this can be used to rescue people. This can be used to recruit.
Broken.
This
That's
can be
broken.
Used to approach
already
people in melee. It's good for a ton of different combat situations. Yeah, so that's
2 meter. You know what we're gonna have to get you, right?
Let's talk about the improvements we've made
that shield.
Quests. And the most obvious thing that we've done is that we've given you 3 choices for the reward. What I observed before was that a lot of the time people would get a quest, and even if the reward was financially balanced with the challenge, they wouldn't take it because they weren't interested in that specific reward item.
Exactly.
And you would end up with quests that were kind of
exactly, right? So you'd get like a psych focus staff or a psych focus shirt, which before, like, there was just no point, right? Because like for me, I would never be focused in like the psychic abilities anyway, so I'd never go with them. So, but now there's actually like watching this video actually makes me want to use psychic abilities and give you a psy focus shirt and give you a psy focus staff as well, if it's gonna enhance your ability to do all those kind of stuff, right?
To show the player, but it's very hard to detect that. And so now we're giving people a choice between 3 options of rewards.
But now, yeah, so now you have like
the rewards if you're just not interested in something
a choice
like royal favor or
of like psychic stuff, non-psychic stuff, and
you'll always get
reputation.
Some reward choices.
That's really good.
This should just make a lot of quests more relevant. And with the new visual display of the rewards, it should make it just a bit easier cognitively.
Prestige armor?
To sort of
okay,
perceive and,
let's have a look at that.
And read the quest description and make your decision. We've done a ton of tuning across the board in all the quests in terms of difficulty, and condensed a ton of quest texts and kind of adjusted the tone of some of the Empire quests. So the nobles should be a lot more straightforward, since now we're de-emphasizing kind of the pampered aspect of them and emphasizing the quasi-religious, psychic, feudal society thing they have going on. So let's talk about the hosting quest next. These have gotten quite a bit of love recently. The first change I want to talk about is that you can now get extra rewards.
It's more gooder,
keeping the guests extra happy. Previously, we had a system which is still in place.
All right, okay.
If the guest's mood gets super low, you could lose the quest.
And
that's still appropriate for a guest who's like, you know, a duke. Or
okay, so this is basically a hospitality mod, right? In royalty.
A royal of some kind. But it's also nice to have an extra opportunity to really pamper them, because we couldn't demand that.
Which I knew hospitality
like 70%,
mod was kind of like
feasible, but
added into royalty, but it didn't really feel like hospitality mod.
An extra reward, which comes in the form of faction goodwill right now. The threats configuration for these has been completely redesigned, so there are now fewer individual threats, but there's a lot more variation in their pacing and scale. So, you know, whereas previously a quest might give you 5 raids in a row, which just kind of got monotonous after a while, it might give you 2 double-sized raids now, or 1 triple-sized mech cluster, just something to pull you out of the normal pacing. So yeah, let's talk about the drug system. I was going over the drug design recently and realized that we can do better with this. So with the goal of opening up new play paths, we've rebalanced a few of the drugs let's take a look at Go Juice specifically. So the consequences for being addicted are now much less, but the chance of getting addicted is always there. In addition, the Go Juice will now boost your character's psi focus instantly. We've also added a system where you can make your guys keep some of any drug in their inventory all the time, and this is useful for combat drugs because they'll always have it on hand. They can take the drugs faster, so if they're behind cover, they can just pop it when necessary and keep fighting.
Okay, cool.
So by no means should drugs be a dominant strategy, but
I don't really
they
use
should
drugs
be
though.
possible to use if a player
But
really
it's
wants
good to consider.
So yeah, let's look at some of the smaller features.
Why does it look like a chicken? What's going? Is this the prestige armor? Why does it look like a chicken?
We added Prestige Armor to the game, which is a special decorated class of powered armor. It satisfies your nobles, and it will power up
Who
your
designed
Psycasters,
that?
and it looks really cool. Next up, shuttle landing pads let you control where visiting shuttles land.
Because they
when they're
can
dropping
fly
off
now. You're
noble
not.
guests for
You're
a quest
kidding
or
me.
picking somebody up.
What?
Cleanly slaughtering your tame animals gives extra bonus meat, and this should power up ranching strategies, which are a bit underused before. Again, more play paths. New smoke shells, smoke IED. Royal Aid can now be targeted on a position.
Oh my god. Actually amazing. Actually amazing. Because the amount of times that you call Royal Aid and they end up like on the other side of the map, or they turn up.
Instead of just dropping directly on whoever's calling it.
Ridiculous.
Drop it right into the mech cluster if you want. And the thing that everybody always wanted, you can now rotate your monuments
Yes!
while you place them. And we reworked how they're generated so that they're a lot more compact.
Yes!
It should be much easier to place now.
Oh my god.
And there's a ton of stuff beyond that. You can definitely read the full patch notes if you're interested. We're not done with this. I've got far too many exciting ideas around these concepts to just stop right now. A lot of stuff is in flight right now, and there's more to look forward to. And I will tell you guys more about that as soon as it's reasonably well established how it's actually going to come out. That's it for now.
A lot
Thank
of good
you to
changes.
everybody who helped test the game. I am Tynan Sylvester, and I will see you guys next time.
That's a lot of like game changing stuff. That's really good. Let's have a look. We all went. I mean, we don't need to go through this now, right? I just want to look at the what you call it, prestige stuff. Oh, I can't. Oh no, I can. Right. Prestige recon armor, prestige marine armor, prestige counterpart. These are gold enhanced power armors, enhanced psychic abilities, and needed to satisfy noble apparent. Okay. Yeah. Alright. Okay, so they're just basically like psi-focused versions of that particular armor. So it kind of satisfies their moral needs and happiness needs.